Well, these are great scenes if you're an England supporter. That was way back in 2005. England beating Australia in that wonderful Test series. And the man that lifted the little urn in the middle there, and he was the captain in the series, Michael Vaughan. And he joins us all the way from England. Vaughanie, great to see you. They were great scenes. We know all about that, so we don't want to actually talk about it. But for Australia, we've had the perfect preparation for this series. We are the World Test champions, and you guys have played a charity game against Ireland, so pretty good start for you guys, eh?
Well, England have been on a golf trip up in Scotland on the Raz as well, so that's how much England respect Australia for this Ashes. They don't think they need to play cricket to prepare to beat them. They're playing St Andrews, Kings Barnes, Loch Lomond, three of the great golf courses in the UK, having a few sherbets. This England side have done things completely differently now for a year and a half under Baz McCullum and Ben Stokes. They're almost ripping up the textbook of what's generally been required in particular Test match cricket, which has all been about, I guess, in the past, preparation, doing your research, doing your homework, making sure that you've had plenty of time in the middle, making sure your bowlers have had plenty of overs in the legs. Our bowlers have had no overs in the legs. The batters have had a bit of time in the middle in county cricket, but not for the last 2 or 3 weeks. They had a knock against Ireland, which, as you said, it was a relatively easy game, not too much in terms of what I would call hot practice. But it's Ben and Baz, they do things completely differently. I do have a little bit of a worry about the bowlers, because we all know you can be as chilled as you like with the batting in terms of your mental approach, and you can be fresh to play. But and sometimes being fresh is the best kind of mindset, because you've got none of those little kind of gremlins in your head telling you that you played a bad shot the week before. But with bowling, not having overs in the legs and not having time in the middle in the field, it's a real concern. Anderson's not bowled for weeks. Ollie Robinson's not bowled for weeks. Ben Stokes has not bowled for months. Wood's not bowled for months. Moeen Ali hasn't bowled for years, and that's England's bowling attack. So yes, skill-wise, they'll have the skill, because that is always with them. But we all know the body, and spending a day in the dirt and then coming back the next day, Test cricket's not easy on the body. So I'm intrigued to see how they go.
Vaughanie, you've just taken up my next 5 questions with that opening comments there. So I'll try and think of some other questions. But is it realistic and sustainable for England to play the way they've been playing, which is great, entertaining, looking to win at all costs, scoring 5 runs and over? Is it realistic against a class side like Australia to play like that?
Look, every time they've played a good side, and they have played some good sides over the last year. New Zealand last summer when it first started, we're watching and thinking, it can't carry on, but it did. Then India came over for that one-off test. They have a good attack. I've made a mistake not picking Ashwin. That's a little bit of a story about India and England. They did that last week against Australia. It worked against India. South Africa, good attack. The one time South Africa got England, it was when the ball moved around at Lords, and it came unstuck. Then went to Pakistan. All right, Pakistan aren't the side that they've been in the past, but to win 3-0 and win in such an expansive fashion in the first test, they score at 7 runs and over. It's never been done in the history of Test match cricket. And then they put New Zealand on the back foot away from home. So it has worked against most teams that they've played. This Australian team are different, though. They are a relentless bowling unit. They'll try and they'll come out dancing. Scott Boland's length, they'll be playing him like a spinner. They will be doing. They'll be running down. They'll be trying to get outside off stump. They know where he's going to land it. They'll be trying to whip it on the onside. I really do think that the first innings of the Ashes for England is going to be very, very important, because if Australia blow them away, and if there's any kind of lateral movement playing the way that they do, and with those flashing blades, the history of the game tells you if the ball moves around and you're flashing your blade towards the ball, it's very, very difficult to get a big score. If the Aussies blowing them away in that first innings, we could be looking at quite a tough series for England. But it's worked against most other attacks, and if it comes off in the first innings and they put Australia on the back foot, it's very, very difficult to play against. They're an energised team. They do play with absolutely no fear. Ben just says to them, he wants them to entertain the crowd. That's it. Winning is just like a byproduct of entertainment. So let's see how it works. One thing is for sure is it's going to be great to watch. It really is, because I thought the Aussies against India were exceptional. They just played Test cricket the way that we've all been taught how to play it, just disciplined, hard, getting through the hard periods with the bat in hand, and then with the ball they were just relentless, using all the different skill sets. This England side are different. They just come out, they're a Ferrari. They literally are a Ferrari. They go out there and just go from ball one.
They don't have a stack.
No, they they don't have a break. I'll tell you that now. They don't have a break in their cars. So, it's going to be great to watch, and they will continue to try and play this way, which will be great entertainment. Whether it'll be good enough to win the Ashes, we'll have to wait and see.
Vaughan, I've seen some interesting selections of late. We've seen Moeen Ali come out of retirement. That's an interesting one because I think he's got caught up in the romance of Bazball, forgot about his form last time we played Test cricket. But the interesting one for me is Bairstow taking the gloves again. Ben Foakes has been a big stay in this team. Anderson and Broad play a lot different when they've got a gloveman like Stokes there. At times I've seen them playing against them, they get frustrated when Bairstow has the gloves. So to me, that's a big risk.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think with England, they just want to try and fit in all their world-class performers. And Bairstow is that, particularly with the bat. What he did last summer was exactly what Ben and Baz wanted, an aggressive player. So they had to fit him in terms of the batting. And then they looked at, Harry Brook. Harry Brook came into the side just recently, and he's been a revelation. He struggled in the IPL, but, in Test cricket, he's been a revelation for England. So he had to play. And unfortunately, Ben Foakes was the player that misses out. We know in Test cricket those chances and those 50-50 takes that someone like Ben Foakes takes could be a difference between England winning and losing. But Bairstow's keeping's okay. It's just, again, he hasn't played a great deal of cricket, and I'm just always thinking about the bodies of these players. That when you're playing 5 Test matches over the course of 6.5 weeks, someone like Johnny playing as a keeper now when he hasn't been playing as a keeper. He's played a few 4-day games for Yorkshire. I think he's played 2 or 3, but we know Test match cricket is different. So in terms of the skill sets, as a keeper, he's not quite as good as Ben Foakes, but I think he'll do a job. It's more how that body's going to be reacting to potentially being out in the dirt for a day and a half. The weather is glorious over here. It's absolutely scorching. It's going to be good all week. So the pitches, I can only think, are going to be very true. There'll be a bit of lateral movement early. We always get a bit of that with the Duke ball, but I think the pitches will be very, very pure. England want flat wickets. I don't understand why. I was playing the Aussies. I want movement. I want lateral movement. Australia haven't won here since 2-1 because generally we've got the ball moving around, or when Swanee was around, he was the point of difference. England got the ball spinning for Graham Swan. So lateral movement for me is what beats Australia. If it's flat, Johnny Bairstow will be doing a lot of wicket keeping, and I think the likes of your number 3 and 4, and particularly Travis Head, who looks in fine form, might be doing a lot of batting.
Mate, you talk about flat pitches or the weather over there. Can they play Stuart Broad and Jimmy Anderson in the same test come Friday morning at Edgbaston?
For me, Stuart Broad has to play this week. He's the only bowler that's been bowling. And he got 5 for against Ireland. I know it was only Ireland, but if they go into the first test match at Edgbaston and they go Anderson and Ollie Robinson, who haven't been playing recently, they've had niggles. Jimmy's obviously had that problem with his leg, and then Ollie Robinson's had injections in his back. And then you throw in Wood, who's not bowled with a red ball for months and hasn't bowled 1 ball for Durham this summer with a red ball. And then you go Moeen Ali, and then you go Ben Stokes. For me, that's an attack that's just not, it hasn't got enough in the legs. Broad is obviously a bowler that has had the wool over David Warner's eyes. He bowled very nicely against Ireland. He must play for me this week. And if it's Ollie Robinson or even Jimmy, if he has to miss out this week because of his body and they're not quite sure. Well, one thing is absolutely guaranteed. England can't allow to happen what happened last time when Jimmy Anderson played at Edgbaston, bowled 4 overs and didn't bowl again. So they have to get selection right. They'll want pace. They've only got 1 pace bowler. Really, I mean, Josh Tong played against Ireland. I can't think that he's on the radar to be selected this week. So Wood will be the one that they'll try and go to. Particularly, I would think for people like Travis Head. in that middle order, you need that point of difference with your seamers. If we're just going in with 3 bowlers and 3 seamers and Ben Stokes at 82, 84 miles an hour, I don't think you're going to really get the panic buttons flying too much through the Aussie dressing room with pace. But that's why we need lateral movement. England need the lateral movement. So I'm intrigued to see how they go with selection. Broad, for me, has to play at Edgbaston.
Vaughan, just back on the English batting. We've got a pretty good handle on most of the English batting, but the one guy I can't wait to see bat is Harry Brook. Now, we don't know much about him. We've seen him bat a little bit against some Test nations in the last 12 months. But to me, he's a key player. He reminds me of Kevin Peterson. How good is he, and how do you think he'll go against the Australian fast bowling attack?
Oh, he's a player. He's got all the gift. Very dynamic. He just doesn't respect spin. He'll take or try and take Nathan Lyon down. I saw in the IPL that, I know it's a different format, but pressure plays a funny trick with the mind. And when he was under a huge amount of pressure in the IPL, he didn't quite look the player that I'd seen for the previous year. And that happens as a young player. Form just goes, your confidence just disappears slightly. And the Ashes is the ultimate pressure as a Test match batter. So I think for him, his first couple of innings will be very important, to make sure that he comes out and gets a few. If he does and gets on the role that we saw him get on in Pakistan, he'll be destructive and have a big say in the Ashes. The player that I'm intrigued to watch is Ben Duckett at the top of the order. I don't know if you saw that stat that think of the 692 balls that he's faced under Ben and Baz. He's left 8. I mean, he's an opening bat. He's left 8.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't leave the ball. And how you can get away facing Cummins, Hazelwood, Stark, Boland, not leaving the ball. Well, I'm intrigued to see how he goes. But he's a very dangerous player. He's dynamic. He naturally scores quickly. And that's what England have done. I mean, I don't know if you saw Ben's interview last week, but he said that Alistair Cook wouldn't get into his team. England's highest run scorer in Test match cricket wouldn't get into his Test match team because he doesn't score quick enough. That is what England are doing. They're sending the message through the county game that if you want to play for England, you've got to score at a rate of knots. So they've got a team with Moeen coming in at 8 that will just be flinging the willow, coming after Australia. It's never, ever been done before where an England side will be, and speaking about it, all of them are just saying, we're going to come hard, we're going to go harder if it doesn't go right the first innings. I just can't wait to see how it goes.
Mate, I think you're spot on. We look forward to it. I know you've got to get down to the Test match at Edgbaston for the BBC. But before we go quickly, prediction, what do you got for us?
Gee, I honestly have no clue. I have no idea. I mean, the Aussies, if the flat wickets, Australia win. If the ball moves laterally, I think England could have enough because they'll score quickly. They won't have to bat as many overs. They probably won't bat as many overs because they're up against quality bowling. But if the pitches are flat and very similar to what I saw at the Oval, I know that the first innings it did a bit. There was a bit of movement and a little bit of bounce every now and again, but it was a good cricket wicket. If they're good cricket wickets, I think Australia's kind of experience and quality will come through. They got close to winning in England in 2009. In actual fact, they should have won easily. They were the better side. They just mucked up at Headingley and got the decision at the toss at the Oval wrong. But, this England side are very, very dangerous. I hope they can. I hope this Bazball cricket can survive the Aussie juggernaut bowling attack. But I just think it comes down to the pitches. If the swing and seam, England win. If it's flat and the sun continues to shine like it is now, that's why I've got a bit of a tan. It's roasting over here. I think the Aussies will be too good for England if the ball does very little.
Good on you, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
See you, mate.